Bonjour à tous, moi c'est Marwan Bitar et merci Lorraine, merci Nicolas pour la présentation que vous avez faite. Moi je vais continuer sur la même lignée d'idées étant donné qu'on est arrivé à travers la recherche sur justement ce côté entrepreneur, artisan, entrepreneur et le fait qu'il faut développer les deux et pas juste un seul. On va continuer sur cette lignée d'idées et je vais continuer ma présentation à moi en anglais. En gros, je vais déjà switcher en anglais. So my presentation today is for all the entrepreneurs out there. So the conclusion that Lorraine and Nicolas gave was based on that approach of an entrepreneur, the business approach of an entrepreneur and the business sense of an entrepreneur. And that means a lot of stuff. It means marketing, it means sales, it means financing. It also means hiring the right people. It means being a business person. Mm-hmm. What we're going to focus on in my presentation is more the funding side of the entrepreneur. At Innoprofits, we specialize in public funding, and we go get funding for entrepreneurs. And we work mainly with tech startups and indie studios. We're leaders in those in both those markets. And there's a reason why we can lead in those markets. One of them is the obvious one. We're really good at what we do, and it's true. We've been having huge success rates. We're at 100% success rate. But the other reason, and that's the one that we see less, it's because we understand those entrepreneurs. And for us, you guys are the same. So tech startups and indie startups are the same types of entrepreneurs. You're both in a market that has very scalable products, in a market that has very high risk, very high return, in a market that is international from day zero. And you're both very knowledge intensive and very cash intensive. So we put you in the same bucket, and that bucket, we understand it, because before founding Innoprofits, we were entrepreneurs. I myself was a tech entrepreneur before doing that. And I understood one main thing. Entrepreneurs have a big pain, and that pain is cash flow. And for me, cash in a company is like blood in a body. Once the blood stops flowing, the company, the body dies. Same thing with the cash. So cash being blood, once it stops flowing, the company dies. So to be able to keep that cash inside your company, you need to do what tech entrepreneurs do and what you guys do, or what you should do. It's to bootstrap your company. Before getting into that, what is a bootstrap? A bootstrap is that strap that you see on the top of the boot that allows you to do one thing: wear your shoe without the help of anyone. And this is what bootstrapping means in a company. You bootstrap a company, meaning you can get as far as you can without the help of anyone. Is it true? Not really, because you'll still need the help of a few people. And why you should bootstrap, the reason behind it is a company has two risks. A tech has two risks. A game has two risks. The first one is, do I have the right team, and am I able to deliver the product I'm promising? And this is the first risk. So am I able to develop my tech? Am I able to develop my product? The second risk is the market risk. Am I able to sell my product? Am I able to create traction on my product? As you go with time and as you reduce those risks, you get to a point where you can get whatever money you want, because investors will want to hop in. They will want to get a part of your cake because you're an interesting company. You will make money. So as you advance, your negotiation power increases and your risk reduces. Same thing with dilution. As you decrease your risk, you decrease the dilution of your company. So which is where it's interesting to go get public funding to bootstrap in order to get as far as possible in the timeline and increasing your negotiation power at the right time. So why public funding? Public funding is most of the time free. It means it's non-dilutive, it's sometimes non-refundable, it has little to no interest. The problem is there are many rules and conditions, and you're always lost on how do I navigate? What is a subsidy? What is a tax credit? What is a grant? Is it from the provincial side, on the Quebec side? Is it from Canada? Is it from Montreal? Is it from other company or an organism or anything else? Who should I talk to? When should I talk to them? How much can they give me? How much should I put in? And then what documents should I fill in? How do I fill them? How long does it take, etc.? And these are hassles that you have to go through. Now, I said public money is free, and this is what we usually say. Now, is it truly free? And this is a question you should ask yourselves. What you should consider when you're applying to a subsidy or a project or a grant. What is the time consumption of applying to this specific grant? And then, what is the opportunity loss that, so basically the opportunity you're losing when you're applying to this grant and when you're spending time applying to this grant. So what is the value of your time? And if there are opportunities you're losing because of that, what is the real value of your time? And the answer to the no or the yes is if the subsidy amount is superior to your time consumption, so the value of your time by the hour, plus the opportunity loss, then it's worth it. If not, it's not worth it. And the coincidence here is, as you begin, your time is worth almost nothing. So you have time to bootstrap and to apply for as many programs as you can. But as you advance, you should look at what is the real worth of your time. You don't want to get into that wheel of I'm winning all the competitions, I'm getting all the programs, etc., and losing sight of what you should focus on, which is selling your product, selling your service, selling your game. Because once you get into that wheel, you could become the best at it, but you're losing sight of the vision of your company. Now, to be able to do those programs, you should understand a few things. And I'm not going to go here into the details of what every program means. What I'm going to do is try to help you categorize how programs can be thought of. And I put them into 4 buckets. And one of them is the subsidies and the grants. The subsidies and the grants are what I call a gift. So basically, it's something that is out there, and it's a nice to have if you can have it. The reason why it's a nice to have is because although they give you criteria, you're not guaranteed to have the money they told you you're going to have in the description unless you go through the process and you get selected. So you have to be pre-approved. It's not because you answer the criteria that you're guaranteed to have it. They give you a fixed amount of subsidy. It's not unlimited. It's a fixed time period, so you have to spend it in a fixed time period, but it's also, you have to apply in a fixed time period. They have a limited budget. So once the budget is over, although you answer the criteria and although you could have been the best in their selection, you're not lucky because they already selected a few projects that they gave money to. And there is a project selection process. And if you're really good at what you do, but the last amounts were given to someone that's a bit better than you, then you lost. Although you answer all the criteria and you're still one of the best. They don't have any budget anymore. They gave it to the one that has one grade more than you. Tax credits, on the other hand, are what I call a right. So if you answer criteria, both fiscally, technically, and commercially or on the project, you are allowed to get them, even if the government is going bankrupt. This is something that they promise you. It's a law. It's money that you are owed. So a tax credit is something that should be considered regularly and in the business model of your company. It's based on past expenses, and you can only claim it after a fiscal year has ended. There are many rules and conditions, and fiscal audits can be involved, but it's worth it. There are also what I call the friendly loans. So you have EDC, Fidjipreneur, PME Montréal, and you name it, there's a lot of them. It's most of the time a loan that is supported by organisms or government, or compared to banks, they ask for moral guarantees instead of personal guarantees. They look at the company potential and the product potential instead of a credit check. And they give you low interest to no interest, but you have to fit whatever money you're asking into a project. Although it could be a credit line, it still has to fit into a project. Sorry. And the last bucket is the friendly investments. And this is where CMF, IQ, and all those stuff come in, because it's very interesting. So these are investments that you would never see elsewhere. And this is the only place where I wouldn't compare you to tech companies, because they don't have access to that. So CMF, as an example, would take they would give you big cash injections, and they would only take royalties. Sometimes the friendly investments mean we take also equity. And the Quebec government is going more and more into that. We invest in companies because we want them to grow and we want to create unicorns. So you could be giving equity to government-supported organizations, but it would still be very interesting cash injections. Now, other aspects to consider when you look at subsidies, grants, and tax credits is you should look at the fiscal implications. A subsidy, a grant, a tax credit is considered as an income most of the time, and double dipping is prescribed, which means you can't claim many activities, many projects on a lot of programs. So you're not allowed to do what we call double dipping, because you're not allowed to be profitable based on government money. Then because it would be something that's almost insane. It's maybe possible now with the wage subsidy becoming profitable because of the government, but it's not something that's sustainable on the long term, and you're not allowed to do it. Now, what double dipping means is very large, and there are stuff that could be considered and stuff that are not, etc. And you should look into that with accountants, fiscalists, specialists like us, of course. The main idea that you should keep in mind when looking at government funding before the free money is the leverage power. If you can plan your things right, every dollar that you have can be multiplied by a lot of dollars. So if a program tells you, you put in 25%, I give you 75%, this means that you just multiplied by 4 your dollar. If you could increase programs without doing double dipping and recycle those programs with tax credits later on, you would be looking at maybe multiplying your dollar by 5, 10, 12, 20. And let's say we only stay at 4. This means that every dollar you spend before planning it right is actually $4 spent, not 1. And this is where you should look into planning it right. Once you advance in your company and you get to that lower risk and more into the growth phase, keep in mind that government programs are still a way for you to reduce your burn. They're still a way for you to take risks, develop new products, innovate on your existing products, and get further. So it's something that you should consider keeping in your business model as a way of going forward. Now, how do you manage all that? There are aspects to consider. I talked about the time and the efficiency of your time and the value of your time. But there are other aspects that you should consider before applying to programs. 1, do you really fit in a program? 2, budgets are sometimes already spent. Make sure they still have budget before you spend a lot of time applying to the program. 3, it's very time consuming. Or the project that you present has to fit in the program. So sometimes you could tweak your project a bit to make it fit inside a program. But tweaking a project a lot sometimes would push you to change the whole aspect of your project. And sometimes you'll need to develop something new just to be able to get the final amounts of the project you submitted, which would get you to a point where you're actually losing money because you're consuming your time on something else and consuming your opportunity time on something else. So be careful about that. So I have 4 questions for better focus. How much do I need? When do I need it? What is available that fits my profile at the right moment? And is it public money, private money, or a hybrid of both? So basically, the real answer to that is really a well-built, it's a well-built, basically the real answer to that is a well-built cash flow. If you build your cash flow planning right, you will get the answers of what money you need, when you need it, and then you'll see which programs fit exactly your profile at the right time. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to contact us. We are specialists in public funding. We help you in your cash flow, but there are specialists also out there that can help you with a lot of stuff building your startup. Don't hesitate to use people so that you could focus your time on other stuff. Thank you very much.